Hello everybody, and you're very welcome to this most prestigious occasion, my 500th video on YouTube. I started the channel way back in 2009 when I was 18 years old, and now it's 2015 and it's time to induct 25 more of my great FM legends into the Hall of Fame, and it makes absolute sense to have this wonderful occasion with you loyal subscribers on my 500th video. My last two times were on my channel uploading anniversary in June, but I decided to save this occasion for this moment. My hashtag road to 500 videos will now come to an end. Without further ado, I hope you're sat somewhere comfortable with something nice to drink, and time to begin the induction of the starting 11 of my Hall of Fame. Now it's time to unveil my new and improved graphics for this Hall of Fame induction. You can see there are 11 tiles to fill, all of my favourite players in the four clubs that you probably saw moments ago. You already know Le Mans FC, but fans of FM14 will know that Bursaspor and Wolfsburg were my last two teams on the trophy tour, and then my most recent club is Chesterfield, and I'll have some players from the Spyrites happily entering the Hall of Fame as well. But without much of a surprise, my undisputed #1 goalkeeper is Nolan Lambert. Nolan Lambert has only played 98 times for Le Mans FC thus far, but he's made one of the greatest impressions of any of my youth academy graduates. He came at a perfect time when Quentin Bernardeau's sort of magic was starting to dissipate, and through those 98 appearances he's kept 41 clean sheets and he's won the league twice. He got to the Champions League final but was injured, and that meant he couldn't play, and that could have cost us in the long run. But otherwise, he has been capped twice for his country, and cannot wait to see, if I do resume the Le Mans Odyssey, how he'll grow into an even better player. He's been absolutely fabulous since day one. This season, I've decided that 4 defenders are worthy of induction in the starting 11, and they are as follows: Ryan Shawcross, Alwyn Diawara, Boris Germain, and Sean Kavanagh. Starting with my outstanding centre-back pairing to accompany Nolan Lambert, you can see these two youngsters have been stalwarts for the team. They replaced the other legends, Zhang Suisi and Kalidou Koulibaly, and you can tell why. Looking at Diawara, he's made nearly 250 appearances. He was the initial breakout star for the team and made an instant impact. He scored 28 goals, provided 5 assists over 10 seasons since joining the youth academy. His average rating speaks for itself, 7.30. He's committed 35 yellow card fouls over his career and 1 red card. Man of the match, he's been that 14 times, and he's been capped 26 times for Senegal, but he was initially declared French. But without Boris Germain, I don't think Diawara would have had as much success. You can tell it took a little longer for Germain to get through, but once he did, he was also absolutely wonderful. 139 appearances, 14 goals, 5 assists, also over 10 seasons, but he actually has a better average rating of 7.51. He's won 7 caps for the French senior side, but he's had 2 red cards as opposed to Diawara's 1, and then the Man in the Match awards he's actually managed 16, as he loves getting forward at the set pieces, and he works so hard. But it's a real shame these two youngsters were not crowned the champions of Europe so soon into their prestigious careers. On the wings of my defence, we've got Sean Kavanagh, who's initially a left back, and Ryan Shawcross, who is purely a centre back, but with some ability on the right hand side. He was signed by Steve McLaren from Stoke City for 10.25 million, and I inherited him after Wolfsburg sacked their manager and I took the job. He's made 217 appearances total for Wolfsburg. 73 of those belong to me. He scored 3 goals over the 3 seasons while I was in charge. He got a 7.21 average rating. He was the captain of the club at the time, and without him I don't think my Wolfsburg squad would have been nearly as successful as it was, considering how difficult my first season proved to be. Thankfully, he wasn't able to play in the cup final that we won, but without him, he led so many great players into battle, and I'm grateful for that. And then Sean Cavan is my first Spyrite into the Hall of Fame. He's made 150 appearances, scored 4 goals, mostly from his trusty left foot at a free kick. He's provided 16 assists over 6 seasons, and it was a 6.96 average rating over those games. I managed to poach him for free from Fulham while I was in the Championship, and he's got one of the most accountable yellow card fouls at 38, and he's been sent off twice. But the Republic of Ireland international has done so well for me over the years, especially in the first season of the Premier League when I wasn't too sure how he would cope. He was better than the likes of Matthew Targett and then previously Daniel Jones. Those two players had mixed fortunes at the club, but Sean Kavanagh has been irreplaceable, and he's still got a few years left in the Chesterfield of Dreams. I cannot wait to see how he rounds up his career. Now it's time to present the middle of the park for you guys. It is the trio of Ratko Jovicic, Jonathan Schmid and Vanja Matroljan. Perhaps unsurprisingly, I've got a great affinity with Ratko Jovicic, the Serbian Frenchman, who was also one of the great prodigies in my youth academy. I knew from day one that he was going to be something special, and so it's proven to be. He's waved off great competition in the cam position to play 207 times, scoring 42 goals and 42 assists over 11 seasons. 7.23 average ratings, perhaps a little harsh. I would have given him more, but that's the way the ball has bounced. He's won 10 Man of the Match awards, been booked 11 times in his career, and has earned 4 caps for the very competitive Serbian national team. And his most famous moment was the goal he scored to make it 3-0 in the Champions League semi-final, where I literally screamed my lungs out and celebrated what was going to be the 100th episode at Marseille's home ground. I was absolutely thrilled that he bombed forward, got in the box and provided the finish that gave us that winner. But he's also provided other great goals and moments for Le Mans FC, and I can't thank him enough for that. On the right hand side we've Jonathan Schmid, another Frenchman, strangely enough. He was bought for 17.5 million from Freiburg before I joined the club, and he was able to play 87 times for me, scored 31 times. That is extremely good for a right winger. And then he provided 20 assists and earned an average rating of 7.07. He was sent off once for me with 6 yellow cards on top of that, and he was capped 27 times for France, and he was the Golden Boot winner almost for Wolfsburg in the first season. I had really poor strikers, didn't have much going for me then, but with Jonathan Schmid's ability to get forward, I pretty much saved the club from a really, really poor season, and then we recovered to make it into the top 4 and won the German Cup in the last episode. So thank you, merci beaucoup, to these two wonderful players. To shake things up a little bit, I'm not going to talk about Matroljan without his partner in crime, so it's time to unveil my 3 best strikers in the last year of Football Manager. They are, perhaps unsurprisingly, Brian Wheeler, Jairo Mesa and Lee Griffiths. My Bursaspor team were within 90 minutes of winning the Turkish Super League title, and if it wasn't for these 2 players, those lofty ambitions would have been well out of reach. But Matroljan and Brian Wheeler, in my unorthodox 4-2-3-1 narrow formation, earned such a great partnership. We destroyed our rivals in the second half of the season, but just the title went away from us on the final day. One of my great disappointments. Matroljan was a signing for €325,000 from HNK Rijeka, and for that, Bursaspor got 62 appearances, 19 goals, 29 assists and an average rating of 7.26. He would go on to make 129 total appearances for Bursaspor, despite falling out with my successor. He was man of the match 10 times, but was never actually capped for the Croatian senior side, which was also very upsetting to see, considering what a player he turned into. But Brian Wheeler was always destined for bigger and greater things. He wanted out of the club several times, but I refused his initial approaches. But once he was spotted scoring 51 goals and 81 appearances, providing 16 assists and an average rating of 7.22. It was obvious once I left, Brian Wheeler was also going in another direction. That proved to be the case as Manchester City snapped him up. He was man of the match 12 times for me as well. He was a free transfer before I joined the club, and Jamaica had one of their greatest ever players to enjoy. He was capped 108 times. He went to the World Cup, and I'd love to see how his player character develops in the game, but unfortunately I stopped playing FM14 late in November when FM15 came out. But what a player Brian Wheeler was, and Matt Rullian deserved better in my opinion. Completing my starting 11 are perhaps my two greatest cult heroes since the days of Fusieni Cisse. It is, of course, the Scottish Supreme Lee Griffiths and Jairo Mesa of Spain. Lee Griffiths was going to leave Celtic at the end of the season, and I was impatient. I needed a striker in League One right away, and I decided to spend €32,000 to get him out of his contract nice and early, and for that I was given one of my greatest rewards: 92 goals and 56 assists in 218 appearances. That is absolutely incredible. One of the best returns I've ever had from a striker on FM. It took him 7 seasons of greatness to achieve that sort of reach. He took us from League One to the Premier League, and he was a little inconsistent at times, but when he had a strike partner he was absolutely deadly. He was man of the match 21 times, and he was capped 5 times for Scotland, but unfortunately as the Premier League loomed, he started to pick up injuries and he lost his confidence, so we had to let him go to Cowdenbeath, and the Chesterfield fans have given him icon status, which is the best of any of my players in FM15. But in his footsteps I found Jairo Mesa. He is literally a carbon copy, but even better than the Scotsman in many ways. He's provided 79 goals and 17 assists in just 146 appearances. The majority of them came in the Premier League, as I signed him up while we're still in the Championship for just €235,000. His average rating is a 7.08, but he has taken the Premier League by storm, winning the PFA Young Player of the Year, consistently scoring 10 goals a season, even more than that. 15 to 20 is what I've seen more often than not from Mesa, and the great thing about him is his legend will continue. He's suffered a few niggling injuries in my most recent season, but we're in the Champions League now. Everyone knows who El Capitan Mesa Grande is, and the Chesterfield of Dreams will see much, much more from my absolutely outstanding player. But how about the Spanish national team? Will they continue to ignore him, or will it just be Chesterfield's gain that he doesn't become an international superstar? Obviously, leaving my ceremony at just 11 players would be extremely harsh on my other great players throughout the year, both real life and regen. They are as follows: Jakub Rinne, Serdar Aziz, Du Shuang, Istvan Orban, Gary Roberts, Omar Gomez and Kai Wisniewski. Each of these 7 players all have their own story to tell, and I'm sure you'd like to listen. So let's begin with Jakub Rinne. He's been my number 1 goalkeeper for quite a long time. He's even been with us from the Championship days all the way to the Premier League. I've tasked him with a big responsibility, and he's paid me back superbly, playing 204 times in total and keeping 57 clean sheets, even in the toughest of tasks in the Premier League. And if he keeps going, he's bound to get his testimonial in a few seasons' time. A man that deserved a testimonial, but it wasn't in FM yet, was Serdar Aziz. He only played the 3 seasons with me, of course, but he continued to have a glorious career with Bursaspor before I came, and then he was eventually moved on, but he played nearly 290 times for Bursaspor. But during his career he was a goal scorer supreme for a centre back, got 8 goals for me and provided 1 assist, and he would have been a testimonial winner had he stayed along. Du Shuang has the unique distinction of being my first youth academy graduate ever to have been sold and then bought to the club. I lost him due to a contract failure on my part. He went to Juventus who knew his potential was going to be out of this world, but they didn't use him to their full abilities, and I decided to buy him back for 3.2 million euros, and I got an even better player than the one I initially lost. He's played 161 times for me over 9 seasons. He's only scored 1 goal, but out of those 12 assists, one of those was able to get us to the Champions League final, and the 7.26 average rating speaks volumes of this incredible centre defensive mid. And Isfan Orban is one of the few players that I had to buy into the club directly with my prize money, and he was from Red Bull Salzburg. Everybody knew how good a player he was going to be, and thankfully his 169 appearances have featured 24 goals and a whopping 75 assists. Perhaps what denied him a place in the starting 11 was his rather sour attitude. He wasn't the most interesting player off the pitch, and sometimes he'd demand to leave the club because we weren't succeeding as well as we should. But the Serbian national team were the ones that ignored him the most. He deserved a lot more from them, but Orban is very worthy on the substitutes bench, as is Gary Roberts. He played 181 times in total for Chesterfield. Nearly 100 of those were for me over the 6 seasons I had him for. He scored a whopping 44 goals and even got 43 assists in our early days of the Chesterfield of Dreams. He was the top scorer in the first season, and unfortunately didn't quite manage to repeat the feat in the championship, but helped us back up to the championship before eventually having to move on due to old age. In the cam position, we've got Omar Gomez, who was initially Argentinian but earned French citizenship as he was a Bordeaux player for many years, but he decided he wanted a new challenge, and I needed a new attacking mid, so it was a match made in heaven. He's played 128 times in just 5 seasons, scoring 39 goals and providing 25 assists, and his 7.28 average rating shows what a quality player he's been. And his competition with Jovicic is going to be even more fierce as the Le Mans Odyssey will hopefully continue. And then Kai Wisniewski only played 50 times, but he was a youth academy graduate with immense potential. And it's a shame that his last ever goal for the club was, of course, because the series ended, not because he was going to be sold. He did win us the DFB Pokal among those 26 goals. He beat Dortmund with a low-driven finish, and I was so pleased with that. And he got a 6.97 average rating in those 50 appearances, so well done to all those players. Every great club needs its reliable backups, and on the reserves bench is Tommy Lee, Sergio Antonio, Senor Osbarakli, Nahuel Navia, Ollie Banks, Jordi Huula and Cyril Michaud. So beginning with Tommy Lee, I seem to have a knack of finding clubs with good goalkeepers from day one, and Tommy Lee was much more than just a good goalkeeper. He was fantastic. He played 370 times in total for Chesterfield on my save. 158 of those were with me, and thanks to him we reached the championship not once but twice. But sadly his time had to come to an end after his testimonial, as Jakob Brinne and then Linus Muller became superstars with the Chesterfield Spirites. But thanks to Tommy Lee, we accelerated our growth into a range that was never imaginable when I began the save. In his centre-back position, we've got Sergio Antonio, who I got from a free transfer from Real Madrid. He played 57 times in 3 seasons for me. He scored 3 goals, provided 1 assist, and got an average rating of 7.03. I had a abundance of great centre-backs at Wolfsburg. You already saw Brian Shawcross, but Antonio beat out the likes of Jonathan Tah and Yannick Vestergaard to this prestigious honour, so well done to him. He deserves plenty more in the save, and I can only imagine how good a player he'd go on to be. Right back is another Bursaspor homegrown legend, Osbarakli. Only managed 98 appearances for me, but considering we had 3 seasons to play with him, he was fantastic. He got a 7.00 average rating, 5 assists but no actual goals. But he would have been in another testimonial winner. He played 375 times for Bursaspor before and after my career, so well done to that wonderful right back. Nahuel Navia I bought in for a rather pricey sum of 6.75 million from Borussia Mönchengladbach. He scored 9 goals in 48 appearances and earned 16 assists over 2 seasons and was 6.99 average rating. So a bit of a unusual step that a player who only played 2 seasons get into the Hall of Fame. But it's one player I'd love to have continued to play with in future saves. But Ollie Banks was another player who was there from day one. He was the only one to go from League 2 all the way to the Premier League and still earn a starting spot every now and again. Out of his 297 total appearances, 272 were under me, and he earned 35 goals and 23 assists in 10 seasons. Didn't quite get the testimonial he deserved, but despite a low average rating, he provided so many important moments for Chesterfield, and the likes of Brian Boring are now shaped in his mould, and Chesterfield can only become a better club. But Banks still is playing these days. He's with Aldershot, I believe, so I can't envy losing Ollie Banks, but great player. And Jordi Huula is the first ever inductee to the Hall of Fame that I brought in on loan originally, and he was the Golden Boot winner in League 1 to take us to promotion. He scored 52 times in 164 games and provided 24 assists and was 6.85 average rating. He sadly didn't provide a consistent flow of goals for us, but the fact that he got us promoted and continues to bang in the goals even in his new career, I'm so proud that I brought in Jordi Huula to the Spyrites, and a great player who was even capped for the Democratic Republic of the Congo, so well done to him. And last but very much not least is Cyril Michaud, one of my more adaptable and amicable players ever in the Le Mans Odyssey. He's never once had a bad thing to say about me or the club, and for that I've rewarded him with 221 appearances, and he scored 60 goals and 34 assists. He does play on the left wing quite a lot in my save at the minute, but he has played in 11 seasons and has a 7.00 average rating. So all these 25 players all have their own stories to tell, and hope you enjoyed listening to them all. Now hold on a minute, you must be thinking, why do all the players get all the credit for the fun you've had on Football Manager? What about your own career, Owen? Well, here you go. This is my ultimate team card, so to speak, through my 8 clubs throughout FM11 till FM15. I've sadly excluded Torquay and St. Pat since those series barely lasted a few seasons, but this is my record throughout those 8 saves that I've inducted into the Hall of Fame, from Shelbourne and FM11 all the way to Chesterfield. That's running at the minute. I've played 2,551 games. I've won 1,323, drawn 501, and lost 727 of those, with one of them being my heartbreaking loss in the Champions League final that I can never quite get over. But in those 2,000 plus games, my teams have scored 4,502 goals and conceded 3,144, which is a positive goal difference of nearly 1,000. So 1,500, so that's fantastic. Looking in the black text, you can see my win percentage across the board is 52%. I've bought 328 players, and 75 of those are the greatest in my history, and even more could be in the Hall of Fame next year, so keep an eye on that. My sold and released tally is 521, so a lot of players didn't quite make the grade or had to leave the clubs that I managed for whatever reason. And my longest enduring series out of my 500 videos currently stands my Le Mans Odyssey at 103 episodes. So if that tally will ever change, I'll let you know. But Chesterfield FC is piling in to that score, and it's going to be a matter of time before Chesterfield will witness 100 episodes. But that is everything I can provide you in this one video. But if you want more information, please read the description. I'll have a Google Docs document that you can read to look at the stats in more detail. But if you want any more screenshots or information, just let me know. Thank you so much for giving me many years of enjoyment from these 500 videos. You could almost all have 2 each, as I've reached 225 subscribers. You've been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you very much for your patience. I hope all my back-breaking effort was worth it. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.